大家好，我是 Archipapa 庄雅典。今天我们来到首尔访问 Joho Architects 的李建筑师。李建筑师他在法国受教育之后呢，也在Zaha Hadid 的建筑师事务所以及板茂事务所工作，之后回到韩国来。那我们今天很高兴能够跟他聊聊他的这20几年在韩国的一些创业跟实践的过程。他在2009年创业，2010年就拿到了韩国青年建筑师奖，开启了他在整个韩国新一代建筑师的创业的过程。Let's talk about your educational program. What's your educational program?
I studied architecture and philosophy in a university in Korea. I moved to France to study architecture as a scholarship student of the government of Korea.
I think it's interesting to talk about that you actually start with philosophy and then get into architecture. How you transform from a philosopher to become an architect?
I studied architecture for 4 years in the university in Korea. I thought that architecture is not just a result of engineering. It's a part of a humanistic imagination. So that's the reason I thought that the philosophy is very fundamental thing to think about the more deeper architecture. So I studied more 2 years in the university just for philosophy. I really wanted to study more in a European country. So I got a scholarship from my government and I moved to France to study.
So how many years you stay in France?
Study and work, and totally I spent 8 years. 7 or 8 years in France and 1 year in London, in England. I started my study in Nancy, east part of East France. There one very specialized course for glass design. It's a material.
Right. I think Nancy is famous for its novel.
Art Nouveau, right.
What's the specialty of this school? You're talking about the glass design.
Yeah, it's very interesting for me personally. This is a master course. It's composed of 30% design, 30% research the material, and 30% visit the site. So it's very practical course to understand one or two material very deeply.
So talk about the glass. Nancy is famous for this Art Deco kind of glass manufacturing. What's the inspiration when it was?
Just one word. When I was in Korea, I thought that glass is transparent, but I changed my mind. Oh yeah, glass can be translucent, opaque, could be different material. So we can change the element of glass with a special treatment or like some special element. We can change the essence of glasses. So I think I try to break my prejudice about something exists. That's a very interesting point that I've learned there.
We start from architecture first, and then philosophy, and then material. Kind of jumping around in a way, right? But this architecture is the training of architecture in the center, because philosophy is upper scale, right? And material actually is down to earth. Yeah. So you kind of linking the upper and up and down into one. Any special discovery when you are studying at Nancy?
I was really impressed when I looked at the process of making the glass, blow the glass and they make it from the solid. This is the materiality. This is very changeable. So I thought that the plastic and the crystal and the glass is the same sibling. But we have to try to understand where it comes from and how we can make the differently from the base at the time. For instance, very special composite glass also produced in France. For instance, like a high-speed train, like the glass also. It's not the general glass, it's composite glass to protect very high speed. So that's another technique we needed. So it's developed by age, like the Louis XIV, when he built the Versailles Palace, so they need a glass technique. He imported the technician from the Venice. And this kind of very interesting, the history of glass also.
From my knowledge, Nancy is famous for his punk mechanism. It's interesting to see how they use mechanism in this kind of punk way. Actually, it's kind of new style or new way of thinking. Any influence on this?
Do you know the Jeong Jeong is the hometown, is Nancy. I very got inspired from the Jeong design. They're like very mechanical and technical design of the assemble and disassemble, like a movable chair, like something. Yeah. This is very interesting. I thought the architecture is a part of the volumetric design, but in real design, it's very important to understand the material. So we have to know deeply where the material come from, the process of making.
After you graduate, what's your first job in France?
By coincidence, the Shigeru, Japanese architect, won in the competition, international competition, to build the second Pompidou Center, this Metz Pompidou Center. He exhibited his project in Metz City Hall. I visited there and I loved it, and I just sent a message to the Shigeru to get a chance to work there as an intern. Very luckily, I got a chance to work at his office in Paris. Yes, very nice for me.
It's interesting to see that paper is not really a construction material, but he used that to become a construction material. It's quite a challenging, quite mind-blowing. So what's your impact when you work with Shigeru?
When I was in Nancy, School of Architecture in Nancy, I studied the material. Shigeru is one of the greatest architects who used very different material. Like, of course, the paper is specialized, but he used a different material like membrane or like glass and the wood in a very different way. So I thought that Shigeru office is the best office for me to learn the architecture. Yeah, so that's the reason I apply to his office. Particularly, I had a chance to work with international experts. That's very important thing, because to achieve the difficult thing, it's not really easy way. We have to endure the time and we have to overcome a lot of hurdle. We need some specialist internationally, or we have to find every way to solve the problem. So I worked with very international staffs and to find an international engineer to make progress the project. Of course, this project was there are a lot of problem in the budget. There are a lot of barriers. There are pros and cons. It's very serious problem in a political way. Anyway, so architects have to find a way to solve it. That's the attitude I've learned it.
So after that, you go to Zaha office? Yeah. What's the transition?
After I finished this work, I worked at another French office. It's very famous office in Paris. As a project designer, I worked there. And then I graduated another school, a School of Architecture in La Villette. And I got a diploma. And then I tried to get another job. And I applied to Zaha Hadid and Frank Gehry in Paris and Herzogenaurach du Miron. I chose the Zaha Hadid. It's very interesting how they make the foam very unique form with digital tool. It's quite important and interesting how they treat the material. So with my key theme, I try to develop my analogy to understand the form and material. So Zaha Hadid was very interesting form at the time, and then they had the project in Korea. It's very intriguing for me to join this team to understand how they adapt the Korean, the law of architecture, and then the reality of construction. So I really wanted to get an experience there. I compared the Shigeru work style and the Zaha Hadid work style. It's totally different. Like most of Japanese architects, they studied with a physical model. 1 to 10, 1 to 50, 1 to 100. There are a lot of interns. They make the model and they study. They use the digital tool, but not so much. They just focus on the physical model and then the drawings. On the contrary of Japanese architectural style, Zaha Hadid, I was very impressed. There are no physical model. They made it. Every just computer. Inside the computer, they communicate, made a model and discussion, and then finally they print out in the 3D printing to show the client. Shigeru style, he used a paper tube generally. He started like a very small geometry, maybe triangle or a rectangle. Starting this point, interesting form, expand from the geometry unit. Right. On the contrary, Zaha Hadid, they just define the shape and form according to the urban context. This kind of a very organic shape, very interesting shape and upbreaking the idea toward the futurist design. And then they try to solve the internal, structural problem and the MEP problem. It's a completely different solution. I enjoy those different styles. I try to understand, I try to learn it. So which type I have to learn and then adapt to create my style. That's the point that I've learned it. That's very interesting.
With all these different training background, you finally decide to come back to Korea and to establish your office. What's the mentality behind this?
After I quit the job at London Zaha Hadid office, and I came back to Paris to start my personal working. Coincidentally, I got a project in Korea. Someone who looking for an architect to build the parking lot. It's very low budget. Last for 6 years. During the last 6 years, it couldn't build it because of the problem of a budget and many issues. So I tried to contact, and then I got this project. So I had a chance to design. In Korea, the reality is very different compared to Europe, in Paris and London. I thought if I design, I send my design, somebody can build very beautifully. I just imagine it. But the reality in Korea is totally different. Even though I design something, it's very difficult to construct with the very finest detail. I realized that I decide to go back to Korea. In the construction side, I just devote myself to it.
So your first project actually is a parking lot. It's not a major building type.
Generally, famous architect never thought about. Nobody want to work in it because this is a low budget. Design fee is not really good. People think that this is not a major project like something. But I had a chance. Actually, I really tried to make something different. The process of the construction permit also, it was not really easy. I didn't set up my office in Korea. I did everything by myself. I went to the city hall to get a construction permission, and I contacted with the construction company, and I tried to find a new material, contact the client, every process. Because I tried to learn the process of working. I've learned the architecture in Europe, right? Mainly. Of course, this is another world or like market, but the Korean market is a different one. Traditionally, culturally, people think the architecture is different field compared to European. I studied. So I tried to adapt the Korean culture, in the real construction side, how did it happen there. So I didn't want to hire someone. Everything by myself. Thanks to the digital tool I've learned in Zaha Hadid office. This very advanced digital tool they're using. Thanks to the experience in Shigeru, I understood the way of using the material, the unit.
What's your design philosophy behind this parking lot?
When you make the new city, the outside the Seoul, this is suburban, we make some block for apartment, this block for commercial area, this block for low housing complex, and this one for parking lot. So this side is originated to build the parking lot. But very interestingly, the width is very narrow. This is just a 40 meter. This is quite difficult to turn around the car. It's impossible. But the client bought this side. It's very difficult to get some commerciality. It means that the parking lot has very special regulation or like law of architecture. 70% for parking and 30% the commercial area. But the problem is that this is very narrow car parking. We need a more wide, circulation, the lamp and everything. So the commercial area, we can't have a 30%. It's maybe 20% and then 15%. Very, very difficult to get the benefit. This is parking lot, the general design in Korea. So 30% maybe 2 floor, 3 floor just for, the commercial retail we sell. And then the last part, the upper part is parking lot, but nobody parked there. This is very typical the car parking in Korea. In this case, people think this is a parking lot mainly, and the commercial retail is included in the parking lot. So I try to change this mind. I try to change the image of a car parking lot. This parking lot is included in a commercial area. So I try to raise up the value of this site. The law of architecture in Korea, under 50 car park, we can get a 3.5 meter the width of the lamp. I convinced the client we can have just a 45, 46. It's okay. It's enough. We can reduce the lamp size. We can have just a one-way lamp, 3.5. Instead of having 6.0, in this case, we can have the more space for commercial area on ground floor.
What's the material for this project?
I thought that the plastic, like polycarbonate, but in Korea, there are a lot of polycarbonate manufacturer. I contact with them, but this is not really good quality. Just the triple layer they produced, the color is not really good. So I contact with Switzerland company to buy a lowest price. So I send these images to the headquarters in Switzerland, and then they accept it because this Korean market is growing, and they want to try their material like a test version. So this is a polycarbonate that I tried to test. This is translucent, but it depends on the lighting. If the lighting is outside, it looks like a glass. It's reflection. Because the radiation coating and then UV coating, thanks to this coating, it reflects very like glass. But if the lighting inside diffusing like very differently, we can have a different images. This angle is 60 degree of triangle unit. I started the hand and the 70, 80, 10, 100 to the 140 degree is unfolded. It's quite complex because it's in front of the load. I really need some very interesting detail to express the density. So that's the reason I use these types of triangle detail. It's quite difficult to calculate in the digital way. So almost 900 different types of stainless I weld. I try to weld it. It's kind of really craftsmanship. So this is the look inside. The lighting inside is the direct, very indirectly it reflect the lighting from the inside to outside. But these images, if the lighting outside, it seems like the glass, like something. It's kind of very interesting, the material characteristic. So that's the reason I named this building. It's a Herma parking building. Herma means Herma prototitus, the Greek, the mythology. It's not a man, not a woman, right? This is a mingle human, right?
Look at that. The structure actually is okay.
Yeah, it's very
typical.
Yeah, very simple and cheap construction in concrete, and this is a steel stairs. And then cladding is wrapped with plastic, the polycarbonate.
Cheap.
Yeah, cheap. Yeah, and then I just design like this is an opening. I got inspired from the grill of the car. It's a car parking.
Yes, right.
But the interesting thing is this is just a one unit. The plastic polycarbonate I have to be imported by the Switzerland. So it means it should be shipped by a container. It's a maximum 12 meter. That's the reason I split the facade like a two part. This is the 12 meter. I didn't want to split the plastic again, polycarbonate again. So this is a one unit design. Try to understand how maximum the length of the polycarbonate they can produce in Switzerland. How can I get it, through the ship or like a container. And this is the maximum the polycarbonate I can use in Korea. So, there's the design from this understanding, the process of logistics.
You really come up with a very new, unique building. You get a lot of work on this project. So how is the feeling about?
I've learned a lot of things there. I spent most of my time in construction site. As I told you, I didn't set up my personal office.
This is the office.
Yeah, this is my office. So I learned the way of welding from workers. Somebody told me, there are a couple of types of welding. Do you know the R1 welding, TIG welding? Which welding is appropriate for aluminum and steel? Very the realistic thing I've learned there. Why a stainless steel we can weld with the TIG welding, but in this case we need some special spray to spread after we weld, to protect from the light, something. Those kind of very realistic details I've learned there. I understood the process of logistics. This is quite important to check and understand the budget. This was very limited budget. I tried to calculate everything. How much of the polycarbonate I have to use, how much of the stainless steel, try to find a solution this way.
So how you start your company after this?
After finish this work, I had any network in Korea. I couldn't find a new client. Wow, it was very hard. Just almost 1 year I spent a very small office I lent. By any chance, I applied to the Korean Young Architect Award, and then I got it. By any chance, the book designer introduced the client. He has a very small farmhouse, but he didn't like it because he hired the carpenter, local carpenter. Wow, it's a really surprise to left the building. He said the local carpenter think this is best building that he can. But the client lived in Seoul, and then he didn't like this building. He really want to change it. So I tried to analyze why this building is not really beautiful. So maybe the proportion is wrong. This is the length and the height is not really good, not really stable. The roof, the canopy is not necessary. And then I don't understand why they lift up this building. It's 3 or 4, 1 meter almost lift up. So I tried to make a see-through. See-through means like layered. In front of this small house, I layered more stable the facade. But I don't want to just hide the existing building behind. I just want to show it, but something not clearly. I want to show it. That's the see-through design. Of course, this also very limited, low budget. Every client said the same thing. Wow, it's a really beautiful project after I showed the design. But however, it looks some expensive. How we can make it? They always question about this issue. So I try to find the construction solution by myself, thinking of the unit of design like a see-through, like this, the fence design. This is a unit I found the factory near to Seoul to produce the landscape fence. It's not really expensive. They had some stock, so I asked them, okay, so I needed the material. I calculate exactly, maybe 1,000 meter I needed. I negotiate and I brought it. Interpret the eaves line. Generally, when we design something in front of the mountain, we try to combine this design with the natural thing. But in the modern area, we just delete everything with just a plug, and we just put a simple box. I don't like it. So I try to interpret this side with a gentle line, curved line. It's very suitable behind the mountain, small gentle mountain. Each country developed each way, the characteristic way, the China, Japan, or Korea. So I thought that this eaves line is the meeting line between the sky and the land. It's kind of an interpretation by ourselves from this sketch to make a line. And then they just band with the diagonal shape, make this diagonal shape in the construction site. Very easily I can construct. The most important thing, I have to calculate exactly how much of the quantity of this material. So I calculate with the different angle of the unit of the aluminum. This is not really easy one because this is curved line. It's perpendicularly. You have to attach there. So it's a detail. It seems very simple, but in reality it's quite a very complex design because this is a 3-dimensional design. So I calculate the aluminum and this is steel, and then everything I calculate. I showed client. I convince him. So I can finish with this project.
So we totally transformed this building. You can see Shigeru and Zaha in this project. You really merge the two essence of these two architects, your aluminum as the paper tube, or this digital fabrication kind of idea is all in here. And then the Korea identity in a way, Korean architecture trading, building, merge the cultural side, the digital side, the material side. This is the second project. You kind of finding your way into.
Little by little, yeah. I was struggling with always the limited budget. I had tried to find a new client. I think there's a process of understanding the Korean reality. So I have to control the budget, how much the quantity we have to spend in the construction site, how much a percentage of logistics we have to invest the money for this project. That is really important to raise up the quality of a project. For instance, if we save the money, the budget, just 5% of each project, it's a really big issue. It can be changed the total design. The detail we can add it. I try to understand the construction reality and I involve that and I try to find something and I finish with my detail, the construction site. That's the point. So through the Herma parking and this is remodeling, I draw this detail drawing. I was worried about they never understand my detail, like this angle is very accurate, like there's a 1 degree curve or something. I was worried about it. And then I draw every detail and then at every part of round shape. But in reality in Korea, the builder never look at this drawing and then he tried to understand this complicated design. Like even though I did draw like this one, he understand with his word and this is Korean word, the left side lower part. He classify every element. Okay, so don't worry. I just classify myself.
So it's high tech and low tech.
Yeah, this is a real low tech one. I designed it high tech and I'm just worried about you have to understand my design. And I drew everything, but he understood, okay, don't worry, I understand by myself. This is real low tech. And then he summarized just the 3 words. That's very interesting for me. He made this scaffold and then he just band this 2 dimension. The problem is we have the machine which fabricate the 3-dimensional pipe. So just from the straight pipe, we just band the curved pipe. And then he make like a line and then he made a curve again by manual.
But it works.
Yeah, it works. Finally, thanks to his effort, and we finally make this one. This is another layer. I try to make disappear the content, existing content, but we can see behind this facade there's something behind. So there's a triple layer that I try to interpret. This is a lamp for his mother. She needs some wheelchair to lift up, and then there's another tree like this existing tree. I use it, and then this is another brick, the foundation to hide the foundation, right? And then there's this white louver. It's a triple layer that I use it. Very simple and very small project, but very interesting to understand the Korean reality. That's a very important point to understand how I have to control the construction site, which people is appropriate for certain project. That's an interesting skill to work together with some workers, my countries. So this brick comes from the local factory. I didn't want to spend money for logistics. So every material is not really expensive, very cheap and the local material. And I try to combine it, interpret myself.